Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing in its second season. Well done, us. My name is Meagan Thompson-Mann, and this is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kirk Rafferty.
And today we are talking about everybody's favorite rejection letters.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Fun stuff.
Super happy times for your post-holiday letdown. We've got our finger on the pulse. What do the people want? They want to hear about sadness. Great.
Yes.
We
Yes.
got you. We got a lot of sadness for you. So, as I said, today's focus is going to be rejection letters. We want to do this in a conversational style. I had a very long commute back the other day on Wednesday. I wrapped up a trial on Wednesday, and my commute back was 2 hours to go about 40 miles. Fantastic. And I got to listen to our last ranking episode that we did about tropes. I listened to it again as part of that trip. And I was like, yeah, actually, this is a fun format. So we're gonna do a little kind of loosey-goosey, but I did write an outline because I can't control myself. But, I've become a plantster, so I did actually write it 5 minutes before I got ready to record. So the best
Yeah.
of both worlds. Yeah.
We talked about doing this, just riffing, just sitting back, just talking conversational. I am an outliner, and so I can't work without an outline. And you made an outline, which really makes me happy because otherwise we'd have had, 50 minutes or an hour of just
Yeah.
me going.
I am not an outliner by nature, but I am neurotic by nature. The rap band of the late 90s and early 2000s you did not know about, neurotic by nature, but that is me. And so I was worried also. Just having some architecture makes me feel a little bit more secure.
And listen, any of our listeners out there that are going, "Oh, please, all you need to do is just talk." Yeah, you try sitting in front of a microphone, realizing that literally dozens of people will be listening to you.
It's so true. And
Dozens, Meagan, dozens.
it's so hard what we do. This is why Tim Pool got paid $100,000 an episode by Russia, because this is really hard work, Kirk.
It is. It is. Where's our Russian money?
Look, anybody can reach out to us at badlitfriends@gmail.com, and we'll give you our Venmo if you want to give us $100,000. We're so open to it. If you're listening, United States government, that was a lie and said for dramatic effect.
Yes.
So, yes.
You know what? We're only half joking.
I know it's sad.
It is that bad.
It's kind of a hellscape here right now.
Yeah. When you think about it, a query letter rejection, not that bad.
Honestly, right now, it could feel like a slash of sunshine through your day.
That's
Um,
right.
it's bleak. So let's get a little bleak then. Things are bleak, but first, how you doing with your writing, Kirk?
Well, as we were talking about before the show, this has kind of been a hell week at work, and my writing has slowed to just a crawl. I haven't been able to do a lot of writing lately. The bad thing about this is, I actually had this really incredible idea. As one does, I've got a project already. I should be working on that project, especially since my time is so freaking limited right now. And all I can do is think about this new idea.
Look, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am there, and I hate myself for it. I started outlining it.
Ah! You are forgiven. This is a safe space.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's been my week. How about yours?
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, shit and great at the same time. Um, a close friend of mine from high school passed away last year. We had a celebration of life for her over the weekend. And so I've been, living out my very own special edition of the Big Chill, but with Gen X people. And I think there were 12 or 13 of us from my high school, which was kind of amazing considering the high school was on the other side of the country. People flew in from all over the world, and it was both just completely traumatic and really life affirming at the same time. And then on top of everything, I had trial this week, which ended to the satisfaction of all parties, settled, which is good. I like settlement, and just trials suck, but it's just been a lot.
Yeah.
I did have my writing circle yesterday, which was
Good.
fantastic.
Good.
So,
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
yes, so very good, lots of good feedback, some actionable feedback. Again, make him worse. A note I received, make him dirtier. Okay, I can do that. So that was also very useful and, super good. And one of my writing circle people, Anne, who has been on this podcast, let us know that she
Friend of the
finally
show.
friend of the show, she finished her manuscript. So,
Yay!
yeah, I
Great
know,
job,
really
Anne.
well
Good
done,
job.
Anne. Yeah, really, really, really cool. So it's been mixed bag and, not a lot of writing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we both suck.
Yeah, yeah, sorry to bury the
But we
lead
have
there, people.
yeah, we had good reasons. You had incredibly good reasons, incredibly sorrowful reasons, but
Yeah,
and I was just busy. I have no
it's
good
okay.
excuses.
It's okay. We're allowed to be busy.
That's right.
Yes. So, as we said, we're gonna talk about rejection letters, and this is gonna be mostly free form. Kirk has had more rejections than me simply because he's queried more agents. But, we've had some similarities, some differences, and it is rejection is part of being an artist. And, as we talk about all the time, if you're a writer, you're also an artist. And artists of every walk of life and every stripe need to get used to rejection. And that rejection doesn't always mean that your work sucks.
Mhm. Mhm.
So this is a little bit of a come to Jesus and a little bit of a support group time here. Think of us as like
Mhm.
your kindly young aunt and uncle here, because Kirk had to give me this talk about rejections. Not the talk, but it'd be a bit awkward. But
That would have been weird.
I think rejections can be really hard to talk about with other people because they can feel so personal, but the good news is that they're not. So, even the personalized ones, don't take them personally, except for the bits that are truly useful.
Yeah.
Let's talk. What are
All
some
right.
types of rejection letters?
Well, so the most common rejection letter that you're gonna get is the impersonal form letter, right? It's, the agents have specific templates that they use, and some agents have one, and if they don't, want your stuff, and they actually do reply to you, it's just one template, "Thanks, it didn't," it whatever their normal, just very generic flavor is gonna be, "This doesn't fit my list. I don't know how I'd put this in the market." That's not typically like a one template thing. It is just impersonal. You know, I I actually think that a rejection letter is not the worst thing you can get. To me, the worst thing you can get is nothing.
Yes, I know this.
Yeah. Oh, and I know it too. Uh, so when you do get even a form rejection back, um, at least that agent took their time. You know that they looked at your manuscript,
Mhm,
I'm sorry, you know that they looked at your query letter at the very least. They
mhm.
might have even looked at your pages, and it just didn't work for them. So, they at least replied to you, and that's great. The other kind of rejection letter you can get, though, is a personalized rejection letter. And, those are kind of the gold standard of rejection letters. That's the Wonka ticket that doesn't actually get you in the factory. It just makes you feel really super good. And, sometimes in those personalized rejection letters, they'll have some good advice for you. And yeah, I have to tell you, I sent out my first book, I sent out around 200 queries over the time that I queried. Of those 200 queries, I could count on one hand the number of personalized rejections that I got. And it might not even been as many as five. I'd have to go back and look. I should have done that. I knew we were going to do this.
I knew we were gonna do it, but I just thought, you know what? We're gonna be very loosey goosey today after our weeks. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not gonna test you, I'm not gonna check your work, so I'm just gonna assume that you are you're making a reasonable estimate, and as you will also believe that I am making a reasonable estimate of the numbers that I am pulling out of the ether for you as well this evening. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Now you have been querying as well.
I have been querying as well.
Um,
Yep, about
Go ahead.
30 before I pressed pause and did a full re-edit, a developmental re-edit.
Mhm.
So of those 30, I have 2 just non-response. I mean, we're talking like 9 months for one and 6 months for the other. I haven't closed them out because, hope springs eternal. Who cares? I don't care.
Sure, sure.
I have had 5, maybe 6, but I can definitely say 5 rejections that I would classify as being personalized. Some
Yeah,
of them
very
more
nice.
yeah, some of them more personalized than others. Some of them came after full requests, and the one of them gave me such amazing actionable feedback that I completely changed how I was pitching this book and querying. It told me that my voice was just not in a different genre, which was very surprising and blew my mind wide open, and also, encouraged me, as a couple of the other ones did, to, if I had anything else in the future, to come back to them and with something new, which was great. And I, put it in my little spreadsheet, like, when book 2 is ready, go back, because it was okay. I have a book, a book-shaped object that they liked the voice, they liked my writing, they liked a lot, plenty of things about the book, but for the most part, those personalized rejections were, for me, like, not really sure where I can put it right now.
Yeah.
And that doesn't hurt as much because it's like, it's not you, it's not your book, it's the market. And that's
And
who cares?
and this should give everybody along the spectrum, the querying spectrum, kinda some hopes. You have a personalized rejection rate of about 1 in 6.
Yeah.
Right? I had a very high rate of form rejections. You have a very high rate of personalized rejections, and I did eventually land an agent. Now, your statistics are still accumulating, but I think that should give people a lot of hope that the rejections that you're getting has no indication
No,
of the quality of your book.
it doesn't. And what it might say is that I actually was fairly good at identifying the agents that
You
might
could,
like
yeah.
to have read my book. And I kind of
Likewise, I could have been really bad at identifying agents.
maybe maybe, but it doesn't. It can, look. Rejection just sucks. I mean, we all feel it. In
Yeah.
It's never fun, right? But the point of doing this is to land somebody, and you have to understand when you start out that this is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And the my attitude towards, people are like, "Oh, I queried my perfect agent, and my perfect agent, rejected my book, and now what do I do?" And my attitude throughout the entire thing has been, my perfect agent is the agent who understands my book,
Mhm.
knows how to position it, and can sell it. That is who my perfect agent is, and I don't know who he or she is yet. I may have queried them already and the timing was bad, or I haven't queried them yet. And I don't know, and so I just don't let it bother me. I don't like, for me at least, to have this label of there being a I say this as somebody, maybe I say this as somebody who has been divorced twice, that I don't believe that there is one true love.
That's right.
And it's the triumph of hope over experience. But that's what querying is. It is rejection after rejection and the triumph of hope over experience.
It helps to think of it this way. Even if your dream agent, your so-called dream agent, comes back with a form rejection, or even worse, ghosts you, the healthy way to think of it, I think, is that you dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
Because the agent that you want them to be passionate about your book. You
Mhm.
want them to want that book, because then they are really gonna go to bat for you on it.
Mhm.
And so when even your dream agent said no to you, it means that they were never going to be passionate about your book, and
I
that's
like
tough, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like talking about dream agents right now, because why do we think that there are dream agents. We don't know these people. All we know
Right.
is their manuscript wish list, the MSWL that they have out, maybe on the manuscript wish list website or on their own agency page or their own personal homepage. We know gossip. If you are on the bookish side of and writerly sides of the interwebs, you read things, you pick up things, you see their social media, you think you have a good read on who they are. You've almost certainly, unless you pitched at a conference or somewhere else in person, you have no idea who this person actually is. It's like, I used to do online dating, and I used to have what I thought were great connections with guys where it was all through texts, emails, texts, blah, 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 blah. And then we'd meet in person and it was just like no spark, no electricity after like a week of just fireworks.
Yeah.
But it was just text. I had no idea who these watch 90 Day Fiance. I mean, it is but specifically before the 90 days, before they're able to actually petition their fiancé, watch the ones where they're going over and they're meeting the person for the first time after they've only been corresponding on, by text or over the interwebs or whatever, and they meet and it's just dead. You don't know who somebody is until you get to be with them in person or at least talk to them on the phone.
Right.
You don't
Right.
know.
I often hear agents being referred to as dream agents who tend to have like a big social media
Mhm,
presence, right? And
mhm.
so, of course, people, of course, see them. And so, like, CC Lyra,
Yeah,
uh,
CC
a
Lyra.
literary agent at Wendy Sherman, like she's everywhere, right? She's on a couple podcasts.
Mhm.
She's doing a lot of webinars and stuff. And she sounds great. Like
Yeah, she sounds great.
I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical about the term dream agent, and even I will say if CC were to take my manuscript and say, "Yes, I absolutely love this. I want this." Yes, she would be my dream agent, right?
Yes.
Um, so
CC, we would both love you.
right,
We would love to be agency sibs together with you
that's right.
as our den mother. Please hear us.
We come as a joint package.
It's true. Yes.
So, when we hear about dream agents, I think that we're putting a lot into the personality that we see on social media, and rightly or wrongly, probably usually rightly. I think in Cece's case, it's probably rightly. But what I think of a dream agent, though, is really somebody who first of all, loves my book. And when I say they love my book, I don't want them on a call with me blowing sunshine up my ass, telling me that my book made them cry or whatever like that. When I say they love my book, I mean they love my book because they can put it in readers' hands.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's nice that if they do say, "Oh, your book also made me cry," but really, I want them to say, "I have editors in mind." Like, I know somebody at, Penguin that would love your book, and this is what I wanna hear. This is the dream agent, somebody who can position your
Yeah, that's it. It is somebody that you're gonna click with, and it's great. I love listening to agents on podcasts. I like to watch, their reels to get a flavor of who they are.
Mhm.
But ultimately, it's just a snapshot, and you can't really tell until you talk to them and they've actually read your book whether or not that is a connection that's going to work. So, it is I think my whole point is if you get rejected by the person you believe to be your dream agent, it is not the end of the line, it is not the end of the world. There is someone else who is right for you and right, for your ugly baby, your little book. So, don't let it get to you. Feel like it's gonna hurt. I'm not here saying, "Oh, no, you can't feel hurt about this." But it doesn't in my opinion, it's not useful for you to kinda wallow in it more than I don't know, I mean, what's your tolerance? Maybe for me, it's probably, like, a day.
Yeah.
It's and then I just kinda move on because what else are you gonna do? It's because the if you're like, "I'm done now." CC Lyra didn't want me. It's all over now.
Right.
I'm throwing away my pens and, it's shutting my Scrivener down and, never shall I write another word. What like why? Come on.
For me, it was harder at first, and then after a while, I mean, I'd see a rejection, and then I'd just move the email into my querying inbox thing, right? I got a little numb to it, I think that there's a reason we call it the querying trenches, right?
Yeah.
You're out there on the front lines your first day seeing all the dead bodies and the blood and the explosions, and you're traumatized. But, after you've been after y when you're on your second tour of duty,
Yeah. You are
you
seasoned.
yeah, you see a decapitated body lying on the ground and you just take a swig of whiskey and
But
move
but
on.
but this is not our true hot goss, but here's some like a lukewarm goss. This week I was when I wasn't feeling miserable, I was on Reddit and looking in pub tips as one does. And apparently, some of the more seasoned members on pub tips really do not like the phrase querying trenches. They never want to see it again.
Yeah,
Some people were
yeah.
saying we should just mute people who use it. It's old. And I think, hey, y'all, I've been an old time user on a forum and I've gotten sick of, words that get abused and reused and people coming into new people coming into old spaces and asking about terms or using terms and we're so sick of them. And I just think, you guys were noobs once, have a little
Right.
grace.
Yeah.
And this was in the context of someone saying, pub tips can occasionally feel like a very exclusive club, and if you're not in the club, you're going to get downvoted. And then guess what what happened to that person? Downvoted. Like, just boo, 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 boo.
This kind of gatekeeping just really, sticks in my craw. Be you know what? It's been called the querying trenches for fucking
I
ever.
know. Yeah.
And so get over yourself. Stop gatekeeping.
And, just because you are a, preeminent user in a particular, subreddit or an internet forum does not mean that you always will be. And someday someone will come back and look at your posts and look at you being a jackass and think, why did they think they were so important and now they're not here at all anymore? Like it
And
is
some
fucking Ozymandias shit here, for Reddit.
and I'm just gonna anticipate the response. Someday somebody is going to come look at your podcast and see how schmarmy and important you were feeling about dragging on the pub tips
Look,
dudes.
I will own all of that.
I will too. I will too.
Yes,
I own every remark on here.
I do too, unless I give a disclaimer, in which case I completely disclaim it. But it's just that, and that, I think in some ways it ties into the people who are in the trenches. Sorry, not sorry. We are comrades. We are, brothers and sisters in arms, and we should be there for each other and support each other and not gatekeep and not say like, God, why don't you know this by now? Like, we have all had day one. And where
Mhm.
we walk into a
Mhm.
space going like, what am I doing? Why does everybody know all the rules? When am I gonna learn will I make a friend? It's like the first day of kindergarten. Will I have any friends here? The wonderful thing about the writing community is that you will make a lot of friends,
Mhm. Mhm.
except for the
And
gatekeeping
enemies.
and enemies. That's mostly Kirk. So, the
And
when
they will see my book
they
in an
will,
airport gift shop,
they will,
and
and
it will ruin their flight.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I truly hope so. And that's when we shift into our next incarnation, which is enemies.
There you go.
Or maybe we can have badlit
That'll
frenemies
be our
in
s
between.
that'll be our side project.
So, what do agents actually mean when they say things? We were talking about things like that, in these particularly in form rejections, but also in personalized rejections too. When they say things like, well, it wasn't a good fit, or I didn't connect with the voice, or, the market is tough right now. What are we to make of this? Is there a secret decoder ring that we can send away, for because Are these real? Like, do you think they're real? Do you think some of them I think are real? Some how what do you think about like, are they just brush offs? What a like
I think so first of all, I think it's agent dependent. I think some agents really do run like multiple templates, and if they didn't connect with your voice, they'll send you the "I didn't connect with your voice" template, right?
Mhm.
I think some other agents, it's just a stock reply. It is hard to take any kind of feedback with something like, "I didn't connect with your voice." I don't know how to address that. Right? I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I write with the voice I have. It is, and I say this with all due respect, like literary agents out there are truly, first of all, they're swamped, right?
Yeah.
They can't reply to everybody. You know, they are acting with good intentions. So I'm not trying to
I
shit
think
on
for the most
agents.
part, that is true.
Yes. Yes, but I will just say I didn't connect with your voice. For me personally, it's not I don't know what to do with that. I just don't know what to do with that.
It's hard and it's ouchy, particularly when if you've gotten personalized rejections where the agent has said, "I love your voice." And then it
Yes.
feels like, well, okay, is my voice good or is it shit? It's shit. Oh my god, it's totally shit. And the other
Is
person
it
was
me? No, it must be the agents who are wrong.
yeah, the agents are wrong. My book is amazing. I have had of those 5 personalized rejections, there was only one that said, "I couldn't connect with the voice." The voice is not my problem,
Yeah.
and which is great. You know, if you get 4 out of 5 saying, it's your voice is great," I know my voice is fine. Don't fuck with the voice.
Exactly, yeah, yeah, that one is an outlier, and you should not be tuning anything based on outliers.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely,
Yep.
yeah.
But, it's not a good fit is like it's so vague. Like, what does that even mean? Like, not a good fit with me, not a good fit with the market, not a good fit with your agency, not a good fit with
Right.
the political climate right now.
Although something like feedback like, "Wouldn't know how to market this book," I would pay attention to that,
Mhm.
especially if you're getting that from multiple rejections.
Yeah.
Because what it could indicate is that, exactly what it says, you might think that you're writing within your genre, but you might not be. Now,
Yeah.
I've had this feedback because my book actually straddled a couple different genres.
Yeah.
And so and at the time I was querying, multi-genre books were not as popular. They are popular right now. They're
Mhm.
gaining in popularity, but at the time it wasn't. And so I really did do some soul searching like, man, I wrote this book that I think was pretty amazing,
It's good.
and it may never sit on a shelf because it doesn't fit on any shelf. I think it fits on a shelf now because the market has changed, but yeah.
I agree with you. And the market does change, and sometimes it is just a mismatch, between the market and you. The one that I got kind of in connection with not a good fit was occasionally in the kind of semi-personal because I got in addition to personalized ones, I got ones that I kind of consider semi-personalized ones where they picked out like one particular thing and it was often I couldn't connect emotionally in the first couple of pages with your main character.
Mhm.
What's very interesting is that that is something that I've gotten feedback from beta readers. Thank you again, Laura B. And I have
Friend of the show.
friend of the show, super friend of the show, and I really sat with it. I had to sit with it and think, okay, how can I do this? How can I connect? How can I have people connect with her economically without destroying the opening without destroying the voice. And it was just a matter of adding some interiority. And
Yeah.
it seems to have fixed it. Well, I think so. I'm gonna give it to someone and ask them if they think it's fixed. But I took it on board because when agents like whatever to some extent, like unless it's like super personalized, I don't care. But when betas are saying something, then I'm paying attention. So, it for me, it's like, "Okay, well, you can't connect her. Maybe you think she's a bitch. She is a bitch. That's the point. She is an emotionally closed down, hurt person, and I wasn't getting that enough through. That is a good point. But just to say, I don't get her, like, well, what does that say? Like, what does that actually say? You're not saying you're saying one data point, but I can't, like, see how to put that in context. I'm not
Mhm.
asking an agent to be an editor here, but I am kind of left like, well, what does that actually mean? Do you mean in the beginning? Or like do you mean through if you well, none of those people had fulls, but like if you had like 50 pages, do you mean like all through those 50 pages? That's like
Right,
3
right.
chapters, 4 chapters. Like, what do you mean? I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, these are incredibly busy people, and I'm grateful that they actually sent me a rejection. So, I give them a lot of grace, as I hope they give me grace for showing them, my harebrained idea of a book. But I think that a lot of people can get very caught up in trying to read these rejection letters, especially form rejections like runes, right?
Sure,
That
sure.
there's some mystery, that
Yeah,
and
the tea
often there's
leaves,
not.
right?
Yeah, that often the tea leaves are just spell out N-O, and you just leave it at that and keep moving on. There isn't necessarily a pattern. If you're on QueryTracker, and I assume that if you are querying and you're trying to go, do a trad pub route, you probably are. You can look at other people's form rejection letters that people often post them in there. And
Mhm.
so if you get one, if you get a form rejection, I highly recommend going to see if you got one of the stock ones. You might be surprised. That's how I found out I had some semi-personalized ones. But there are people, as Kirk said, who just some agents just have one. Some have multiple flavors. Some rotate flavors throughout the years, it's like seasonal
Yeah.
or it's and it is I don't know. I mean, I've said it before on here. It's like when I get these forum ones, I laugh because I'm like, look, you tried.
And since we're talking about, overworked agents, let me just embark on a little mini rant here.
Sure.
So, literary agents, come join me over at Camera 3.
You
If you
look
are
beautiful, by the way.
you do, you look
Yes, you look
amazing,
amazing.
amazing. If you are so inundated with queries, and I have no doubt that you are, it's okay to close to querying every now and then. There are some agents, I think this is a great idea. They're only open to queries for like 2 weeks out of the month,
Yeah.
right? And they publish that schedule. And to me, that is much better than just never replying to a query. So I would say, if you don't have something like a 95% reply rate on QueryTracker,
Mhm.
just please consider closing 2 weeks out of the month, or if you need to, every other month or whatever it takes, and it just makes your workload easier as well. And I don't know if there's some kind of like, FOMO that's going on that maybe, an agent doesn't wanna close for a time.
Maybe that's genre specific because I found in the genres that I've, kind of queried in, a lot of them are infrequently open. So they're open for, a couple of weeks every few months.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, and all, hats off to them. I
As
It's a good way to
Yeah, as
handle
a
it.
querying writer, man, I would love that, and especially if I'm almost guaranteed a response, even if it's a form letter, even if
Mhm.
it's a form rejection, because again, I think for writers, the worst thing you can do is ghost us.
Yeah, and I I have been trying to work up my, bravery to query some of these famously quick rejectors out there.
Uh-huh.
Like, I avoided them the last time around because I was a lot more tender last time. Now I'm jaded, and a much more come at me bro. So, but you hear these war stories like 20-minute turnaround, and I'm just like, "Okay."
Seriously, the fastest rejection I think I ever got was minutes. It was minutes, and it was just, it sucked, but it was just the funniest goddamn thing. um, at the time, but yeah, it was minutes. I mean, and I'm talking like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. It was so ridiculously fast, it was funny.
I think mine was something like 12 or 18 hours. I do remember one where you may remember this, where I was beating myself up over the weekend because I thought that I may have accidentally queried what is known as a schmagent.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do?" And then she rejected me before I could, like, make up my mind about what to do, and I thought, "Thank you for making this easy for me."
Wow. Even the schmagents didn't want your book.
Even the schmagents. I know, I know. It was
That's rough. That's rough.
yeah, and then there were many reasons why I should not have queried that person, but it was, thank you for doing the heavy lifting for me. I much appreciate it. But does it, can it get better? Like, can we make this better how do we make this better for ourselves? Look, my way of making it better for myself is, I have a buddy, I have Kirk. I mean, I have other buddies, but, Kirk has been with me, from the beginning, and I can be as, tender a tiny child as I need to be around Kirk, and he is used to it. And he doesn't have to tell me to, suck it up and deal. I know I need to suck it up and deal. Like, it's
Well,
just
and you were still writing your book while I was querying.
Mhm.
And so you were a very nice shoulder for me to cry on at the beginning when I was like, "Oh my god, I've I've queried 10 agents, Megan, and none of them want my book."
Kirk, I know where you belong. That version of yourself belonged. That version of yourself belonged on Threads, and you didn't even know
I
it.
know, and I didn't even know. Yeah,
You could
yeah,
have built up this whole Threads fan base of like, "God, these horrible agents." I
yeah,
had this,
yeah.
and it's we were talking right before the podcast about a series of the algorithm sucks because it just keeps feeding you the worst bullshit that you can't stop clicking on. And this was a bunch of Threads posts about, I sent my book, my beautiful baby angel book, off to agents who said they wanted exactly this book. This armadillos fighting toads in space, and
Well done,
it's
well done.
spicy. And I had all of those elements, and I have an MFA. I've queried 10 agents, and they've all said that they wanted something like this or some
Mhm,
iteration of my
mhm.
elements. And why do you put these things out there and say, "I want this armadillo spicy space fight thing," and then you reject me? Like, why would you do this?
With a
With a
form, yeah.
form, with a form, you didn't even ask for my full. How do you know it's not right for you? Like, agents suck. They all
Yeah.
suck. And that's when you that's also when you get people who are like, "Have you ever heard of my, vanity press, which could help you at this moment?" Kind of
Mhm,
piling
mhm.
in. But nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything.
And this is Kirk's moment of
Mm,
2 things can be true. So, it can be true that it sucks when you have aligned with exactly what an agent is looking for. I've done it.
me too.
I've seen an MSWLs, like, they're talking about my book. They don't know it yet, but, like, exactly what they want is in my hot little hands, and I'm gonna send it to them, and I'm gonna be on the call within a couple weeks, and then they turned around and sent me a form rejection, and yeah, it stung, and it stings more than when you get the rejection from the agent that you're going, if I squint just right, this is the book they're looking for." So I get that feeling. Don't plaster it on social media and say what a terrible person this agent
Yeah.
is and
This is
how
yeah.
badly you're treated.
This is a good one for what I was talking last week about, like, having a document that you put the shit in that you need to write out and you don't do anything
Yes,
with.
exactly,
That
uh-huh.
write that, hate mail or hate post in there. Now you put it out, you've let the words out of yourself. Move on. No one
Mhm,
needs to
mhm.
know this because you know what? When you are querying and your agent is like, "Maybe this is the book for me." They're gonna look you up and they're gonna see the dumbass shit that you have posted. I have posted some dumbass shit. Please don't look it up. I actually have removed a lot of it. But I have posted some dumbass shit under my own name, and it doesn't help. Not every thought is a perfectly polished jewel. Some of them are lumpy, corn-studded turds. just don't go there.
Mhm.
So don't hamstring yourself before it even starts for you.
And speaking of social media, so I've run across a couple different agents now, both on podcasts, talking about social media, and I thought this was really interesting. Somebody um, asked variations of basically this question: uh, Do agents look at your social media to see how long you have been querying that particular project? And then, do they get a little bit miffed if you've been querying this project for a year and they've just now seen your query, right? Like, do they feel like you're the bottom of the like that agent is the bottom of the barrel for them? And the answer was, yeah, some agents do. So if you're posting on social media, that you're querying this project, I don't know, maybe consider that.
Yeah, it's in my Blue Sky handle.
I know, I
I
had
might
all
have to
kind.
change it now.
It's it's not just, "Oh, I'm querying such and such book," it's also pitch contests, right? So, if
Yeah,
you've been in pitch contests with the same book, what I'm not saying is to panic and delete all your social media. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
yeah,
I was surprised to learn that some agents, yeah, do kinda, maybe, lose a little bit of enthusiasm over
yeah.
the project.
Yeah, I've been pretty open about doing a full re-edit because I didn't, like, wanna I it did cross my mind, like, that it has been out there that I was querying for, like, 6 months or whatever and then press pause, and I certainly know that in pitch contests, I get a lot less agent interest now
Mhm.
than I did before. But also I know that there were some interesting stats that I saw on, I can't remember if it was on Instagram or on Blue Sky, but it was about specifically about the number of agents who are participating in pitch contests on Blue Sky since, everybody's getting, like, people are really trying to get agents off Twitter now.
Mhm.
And it's not it's still a relatively small number.
It really is.
It's a lot smaller than what we're ever or still are on Twitter doing the pitch contest. So I keep that in mind that I only did one ever on Twitter before I noped out. So I don't feel too bad about that. I also know that I don't write in a genre that, is as huge as some others. So I know that the potential field is a little smaller and that I also don't think many of them are on Blue Sky. As far as I can tell,
Yeah,
there's a couple of
yeah.
them. There's a few of them, and ones that I'm just, like, terrified of querying, like, I would love to query Eric Hain. Eric, I know you're not listening to this, but I
No,
would
I
love to
bet he
query.
is, I bet he is. Eric
Well,
Kane,
okay,
friend of the show.
friend of
Yeah.
the show, we listen to your podcast all the time religiously. I'd love to query him. I'm also, like, terrified of him because I think he's so great on Blue Sky. I'm just, like, terrified of him. But yeah, but also, Eric, if we're a good fit, please take me. It's not necessarily the end of the road. I think that's an interesting data point, but if they are paying attention, that does mean that if there is a space that you need to do author stuff in, keep your author stuff in there and, like, maybe keep your more personal, ranty bullshit to somewhere that people can't find as easily.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
who the f like,
A Substack behind a paywall.
where where they have to pay you $8 a month to beta read your book. I still think that's a wonderful scam.
I'm doing it.
You should, or you can be like Milo Winter and just, put out books of poetry that are two-thirds illustrations and, kind of glossaries and thank yous and,
I'm doing that too.
I look forward to your systematic takedowns on YouTube and on, TikTok where, "Let me start this," and then it pauses, and then in the background, it's you saying something vaguely problematic, and then, like, "Imma stop him there, and this
Yeah,
is why Kirk
yeah.
is wrong." I'm gonna like all those videos.
I've said this before, that is my ultimate dream, is to have book talk just excoriate me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait for the day.
So, how what kind of tactics have you taken to kind of deal with rejection? Like, how do you stop yourself from taking it so personally, or at least continuing to take it personally
Yeah.
after the initial flash of anger or sadness?
This is gonna sound flippant, but hear me out. I queried more, and you will find that the more you query, the thicker your skin is gonna grow. It sucks. I can't tell you who my first rejection was from. I can't even remember, if I read it first thing in the morning or whatever. But what I can tell you is I remember that feeling of that first rejection.
Mhm.
Because we all have this and I swear if you say that you didn't, I'm gonna call you a liar. Every single one of us has this little tiny sliver of hope that that very first query that we send out will come back with a request for our manuscript and then leads to our dream agent, right? We all
Mhm.
had that feeling with our first query. So I remember when that first rejection came back and, that tiny little sliver of hope was just completely crushed. Yeah, it hurt. And those first rejections hurt.
Yeah.
And at some point, I just remember too, fuck this querying bullshit, man. I'm so tired of getting rejections. And it wasn't so much at that point that it was hurting. It was just like, just kind of tired of it. And so I
Mhm.
did take some time off querying. And then I jumped back into it when I was ready. It wasn't a long time. But yeah, the quick answer is you just keep querying it. And I've said this, I don't know how many times I've said this. You query until you run out of steam or you run out of agents.
Mhm.
Everybody's decision is going to be different, right? If it really is impacting you to a point where, it's not healthy, like you should stop querying.
Yeah.
Take a break at the very least. Maybe explore non-traditional publishing. If it real because I'm not everybody and you're not everybody
Yeah.
and we all deal with this differently. So all I can
Yeah.
say is the more I queried, the easier it got actually.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The first one hurt, the second one hurt less, and then, by the time I pressed pause, I mean, I was laughing, I just didn't even care. And I kept
yeah.
forgetting I had queried people. And
You
that
got over it a lot quicker than I did. Like,
I think, even though I am a very, very delicate, special star child, I also am a lawyer, and I am very used to getting rejected
and you
for
have no soul.
I
So
also have no soul, that's why I'm a
yeah,
lawyer.
so right. So
I actually I will point out that I used to work in reality television in the UK, and I found that such a soulless endeavor that I decided to find some place with greater ethics, and that was law, believe it or not.
I actually do believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but, I've gotten so used to getting rejected for what is essentially my writing. I'm not a trial lawyer, I write a lot of motions, so, some motions just hit and they're right and you win and it feels great. It doesn't happen all the time, and so I've learned to feel the disappointment and take whatever I can learn from it, but most of the time, I walk out of there and especially when I know that I'm right and the judge pulled at some technicality or just, didn't, eat their Wheaties or whatever the hell the kids eat these days. I don't know. Like, I'm too old to know.
6'7"? 6'7"?
6, 7 Pop-Tarts.
Does that make any sense at all? I don't know.
67 Pop-Tarts? I don't know. But I walk out sometimes just going, "Fuck it." I tried my best,
Yeah,
next,
yeah.
and just move on and just keep plugging away at the case because that's what you gotta do. Because you're representing a client. You need to keep their interests, at heart. You're representing yourself as a client in bringing this, querying agents. So, you know what? Feel it and go, "Okay, what can I take from this? Anything? Nothing? Okay, next." That's my attitude, and I think that does come a lot from my training, but if I had not had that training, I think I would have been a lot more hurt about this. I see my book and what I do as both a creative endeavor and a business endeavor, and because there's some business element to it, I think that I can bring that mindset into, like, it's just like, whatever, it's one data point, who cares? Move on. and I also recognize that I am not like a lot of other people who are doing this, and whatever is the way that you can cope with the feelings of rejection, that's the way that you do it. If it's, I don't know, deciding that I've gotta go watch that Before the 90 Days that Meagan recommended because it sounds insane. It is insane. It's a very good season, actually. You should watch it. Or,
That was a hell of a seg.
I gotta bring my 90s in, It's or I could talk about Heated Rivalry, which my mother told me, friend of the show, mom, she did not like the rating, and she did not think it was particularly hot, and I will say this to you, mother, not all works of art are for all people. I will leave
Yeah,
it at that.
yeah.
But whatever it is that could help you feel better, if you need to talk to your people, if you need to go for a run, if you need to go read some books, if you need to write book 2, if whatever it is. So, does it ever stop hurting? I don't think it ever stops hurting. I think anybody who tells
No,
you
no,
that they don't
yeah,
hurt, they're either lying to you or, they are shut off
I
in
agree.
some way. And
I mean, rejection is rejection, right? No matter how you look at it, you can I try to look at it as business, but yeah, anytime you see that red frowny face on QueryTracker, it hurts, yeah.
I don't even look at it. I just look at the
They
email
need to
and go,
change
"Fuck
that
it."
icon. They really do.
It's okay to feel the hurt, and it's okay you know, to feel like somebody misunderstood you, but that's honestly, that's okay. I mean, it happens all the time. It's your book is an important thing, and it's a really important endeavor that you undertook, and one person's attitude, even your dream agent, is just one person's attitude and one person's read of one query letter. They may not even have any of your pages,
Mhm,
right? It
mhm.
may it may say something about your query letter, and in which case, okay, like, work on your query letter. You might have a wonderful book and your query letter isn't landing.
You should always, this is a little bit of a seg, but you should always be reevaluating your query letter,
Uh-huh.
because the more you learn about the process, the more podcasts you listen to, the more articles you read, the more, writing newsletters, whatever, you're constantly going to be taking in new information.
Uh-huh.
And, I was updating my query letter, like all the way. Like I must have updated that query letter, I don't know, 10, 15 times. Not major changes. I mean, it was, let me tell you, my query letter was a disaster when I first started querying, and I had no idea that it was a disaster. So at the beginning, yes, there were some major changes. I wish I could have gone back and requeried those first 30 to 30 or
Yeah.
so agents, because my query letter was a disaster.
I
But even
yeah.
I was making minor tweaks all the way to the very end.
I will point out one really weird data point that I once got and never got again, which was so contrary to all advice I'd ever seen, which was this agent said that they didn't connect with my synopsis, which I was like, "Is that real or are you just being polite?" And
Interesting.
yeah, and, I never heard it from anybody else, but when I did the full re-edit, I went back to my synopsis because I had some new stuff in it, I had some new chapters in it, but I used it as an opportunity to do a full rejig and try a little different flavor, try and get
Mhm.
a little bit more voice, still not a voicey document, because it's not meant to be a voicey document, but I
Yeah.
took that little because I could never get it out of my head. Like, somebody thought my synopsis was boring. Well, all I've ever heard is synopses are supposed to be boring, and I thought, "Well,
Right.
why can't it be just, like, maybe, like, 3 degrees less boring? I've got an opportunity, let's do it." I think Kirk is absolutely right that you need to revisit these documents. They are not static. Just as your manuscript often is not static, you're finding typos. Again, thank you, mom, friend of the show, for finding a typo. Just take there are some really useful crumbs in these rejection letters, even the ones that seem to be form letters, especially if you know if that agent has different flavors of form
Mhm.
letters.
Mhm.
See what you can mine. Sometimes they say absolutely nothing and they're like, "Okay, whatever." But some of them have something that might stick with you, and you might use it as an opportunity to look at your query letter, look at your manuscript, look at your synopsis. It's not all doom and gloom behind the frowny face.
Yeah. Yeah.
even though it may feel like it.
Well said. Yep. Well
Yep.
said.
Okay, so it's time for some hot goss, and this time we are going topical, not tropical. I'm sure the parts of the country that by the time this is released will have been walloped by this massive winter storm would like tropical. Unfortunately, this is topical. So this is agents behaving badly.
Speaking of agents, yeah.
Speaking of
We
agents,
we buttered them up, and
mhm,
now we're gonna slam them
yes,
down.
yes. Unfortunately, the Reddit thread that this comes off of has been removed, or at least the post has been removed, but all of the comments remain. So, Mr. Rafferty, do you recall what was in said post?
This querying author got a request for their manuscript, which is normally fantastic news. This was followed up by a rejection, which also happens frequently.
Mhm.
But the reason the agent gave for the rejection was that they had shared it with their colleagues and they had all come to the conclusion that the author was using AI. Now, I'm not sure if they mean that all of the text was generated by AI or that, they just saw signs that AI had been used in particular cases, know what the nuance was. Rightly so, the author was incensed over this. And I say rightly so because if you're an agent and you get a manuscript and you think it was AI, just reject it.
Yeah.
You don't need to make an accusation that may not actually hold up, that may not be true. The best thing you can do is just reject it and move on.
One of the things that I found really offensive, in addition to, AI witch finding, which we, continue to call out all over the place, is that this agent who was at, I will point out, at a very respectable and well-known literary agent, according to the poster, that they felt the need to share the manuscript with their colleagues and that they all had an opportunity to opine on this manuscript, and I would
Mhm.
assume that they would then know who this author was, and then that person could very well be blackballed in the future with, other manuscripts because they assume that that author has used AI in the generation of at least one book. And gross? Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just tacky. Like, why would you do that? Especially somebody right at the beginning of their career. Why would you do that?
Yeah. If they left a prompt in, I could understand that. It
Mhm.
doesn't sound like the author left a prompt in. And listen, I'm not saying that I even believe this author, right? Like they could have used AI, but they could have also not used AI. And
Mhm.
unless they left a prompt in or something that was just incredibly telling, it's a really reckless accusation.
It really is, and, it made me a little paranoid when I was going over some chapters I was giving to my writing group, and I was thinking I just read an article about, the tells, like yet another one of these, like, the tells. I have always loved M dashes, but beyond that, I in addition to being a recovering English major, I am also a recovering classicist. So, I have this knowledge of, like, how Roman authors and poets structured their work, and one of the classics is the rule of 3. I mean, it's like it was, like,
Yeah.
beat into I start not literally beat into me, I will add, but, I started doing Latin when I was in 5th grade or something like that. This shit is in my DNA at this point, so I can't help myself. Or I started going through and thinking, like, "Am I being repetitive here?" And second guessing myself about all sorts of things that are actually my voice, and then going like, "Oh god, like, is will it happen to me too?" And it's terrifying. And maybe somebody's, like, looked at it and been like, "I'll put it through, the AI detector." First of all, AI detectors are bullshit. They're
They
absolute
really are. They
bullshit.
really are.
I have put in work just, like, out of curiosity. What if I put in this thing that I wrote during the pandemic, like, when I was doing this extension course, before I knew anything about ChatGPT in the summer of, like, 2021 or whatever it was? 85% AI.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" it's insulting.
We've talked about this before, but LLMs are trained on human writing. So, yes, there's going to be a bias towards certain patterns because many authors use certain patterns, and so those patterns will be somewhat pronounced, possibly, possibly not. And it could be that this writer just has, kind of also pronounces certain patterns because that's their voice.
That I didn't share this with you before that we started recording, but there's a lot of discussion right now about this horror novel called A Shy Girl by Mia Ballard or Ballard. There is a lot of discourse on it right now saying this is AI. It's so obviously AI. Oh my God, it's just shit. And then a bunch of other people saying, actually it kind of reads like lit fic. And there's currently a very popular thread. I will share it with you, Kirk, and I will also share it in the show notes in the subreddit for our horror lit, asking like, who else thinks this is written by ChatGPT? Like, oh, I'm not going to make an accusation lightly, but I think that I figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay, not cool. Just as Kirk said, unless there is a prompt in it,
Yeah, it's so reckless.
just stop it.
So
Don't do
it
it.
really makes me mad because, it's kind of turning into this McCarthy type tactic where just people are just going after writers, going after authors because they maybe saw one phrase and then they're taking that and they're extrapolating it, and pretty soon they've figured out the whole murder board puzzle
Mhm,
of
mhm.
why this is AI, and it's gross, it's reckless, and I will have none of it.
I think this is a good time to, like, just really promote literacy and that always it's like mom and apple pi well, maybe not, I mean, that's like American I don't even know what American values are right now, but, like, it's old school American values, that literacy is good, books are good, and the more you read and the more you see, like, how literature, the literature of, in our Kirk and my native tongue, English, but also literature in translation into English, the history of that, the greater arc of that, and how writers borrow from the past will inform how you look at modern literature and see how it's a progression that has been built, kind of layer upon layer upon layer. And these are techniques, that have been used for many, many years. Whether they're good or bad, I mean, it's kind of a neutral statement to some extent. You know, it's it doesn't mean that they're good or bad that they've been used so long, but they have been used so long. So
Yeah.
just because you for the first time became aware of, like, the concept of the tricolon does not mean that it never existed before AI. As Kirk also said, all big ups to Kirk today, but as he said, it's trained on us. So how else is it going to get it except from us? We did it before, and we'll do it after the AI bubble bursts. We'll keep doing it because most of us are human.
And listen, AI, as much as I hate it, it's getting better and better and better. And by better, I don't mean more useful to us as a society. I think it's getting worse for us as a society. But I mean that it's getting better at mimicking humans in our writing. So 2 years ago, 3 years ago, yeah, like AI writing was pretty obvious a lot of the time. Right now, AI writing has gotten pretty damn undetectable, and especially if an author who has any skill at all can go in and make the tweaks make it sound, seem less mechanical, right? So listen, you are not going to spot AI in the wild unless they accidentally left in a prompt or admitted to it. Like, there's an author out there that she's actually admitting to it. That's a
Yeah.
topic for another day. But, unless you're admitting it or some kind of forensics surfaces, you're just not gonna detect it by looking at the page. You're just not.
Yeah. 100%. We are anti AI witch hunting. This is the flag that we're planting. We planted a long ago, and now we're just kind of like
Yeah.
shining it up for the new year. Just again, this is something to write out in your special dumpster fire file. Just just
Mhm.
just keep it
Mhm.
to yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for this person. So perhaps this was a hopeful bummer of an episode. Rejection sucks.
It does.
Yeah, but as always, you can learn a shit ton from feeling the, righteous indignation of being rejected by your dream agent who is now dead to you, okay? Until you're querying project 2, in which
Yeah.
case they're no longer, you just bring them up, you raise the dead, those zombies, you're beautiful, all of you, truly. Kirk and I, because we come up with such great ideas, just right now came up with an idea for the next episode. Don't say that we don't love you by putting in the time. We're going to do things that we wish we'd known when we started writing. Started writing can mean anything from when we started getting serious about our books to when we were tiny children. And, I may embarrass myself by reading some of my juvenilia. Who knows? Tune in for that. If you needed an incentive, I mean, it's going to be humiliating. But, until the next time, you can find us on all the socials at Bad Lit Friends, on Blue Sky, on Instagram, on the trash hole that is Threads. Thank you, Threads, for continuing to bring me the trash in the hole. And until next time, we will see you there.
Bye.